Welcome to the FeedBak podcast, everybody. My name is Back. I got Obi in the house. How you doing, man?
What up, everyone?
And introducing Kimberly Kay Scott.
Hey, hey.
Thank you for being
Kimberly in
here.
the house.
So, international speaker, mindset coach, and first of all, I mean, you were on fire last week in the
Oh,
comments.
thanks.
And
Yeah, I was
we
like, I
gotta
felt
have
like
you
a
on.
one-man team for a while. I was like, I'm just gonna keep talking. They're talking back. This is great. I was like, this is awesome. You
No,
guys have a lot of.
that was dope. Thank you
Yeah,
so much for tuning in last time.
yeah, that's how it works. Like, whenever we see people in the comments, like, contributing and, like, conversating, we're more than happy to invite them in. And, like, whenever people have, like, good comments, or, man, my light just went out. But
Oh, hi,
has something
Ernest.
good to say, then it's awesome. It's
Hell
awesome.
yeah.
And you definitely have a
Can I
lot
shout
to
out
say.
people when they say hi? I just totally broke the rules, maybe, but
No, I know rules. So this is a show. We do it every week, and we just shoot the shit. See what's happening in life, what's happening in the world. No, we don't have an agenda. I'm sure Obi got some things he wants to get off his chest, as always. So
Yeah.
if you want to, join in the comments, we'll be reading questions, comments, whatever you
You
got
want me to go? Want me to go first?
Huh? You want to go first?
No. Oh no, I thought you were. I didn't know you were
That's
talking
fine.
about the
That's fine.
comments yet.
No, that's fine. That's fine. We got people tuning in. Thanks so much for tuning in. And yeah, so what do you got, Obi, on your
Well,
list?
the first thing I want to talk about is this St. Louis couple, Mark McCloskey and Patricia McCloskey.
You mean
that
Karen?
that when there's a group of protesters that were marching to go to the mayor's house in St. Louis, this couple comes out of their mansion with guns and starts pointing it at the protesters because, quote unquote, they were afraid that the mob was going to come and attack their house when the mob was not there for them in the first place. So I just want to kind of get your take on, did you see this story when it was happening or afterwards? Like, what do you think? Do you think they were justified in bringing these guns out and kind of doing some kind of stance to try to protect their home, or no? This is like completely aggressive.
No, Kim, go ahead and I'll respond next.
okay. So no, I don't think they were justified at all. But here's where I'm coming from on it. So I grew up in the South, like deep South Mississippi. I'm almost 40, so like in the 80s, like KKK, Black Panther collisions in like the square of the town I lived in, right? So I grew up in like this very segregated life in general, like homes I lived in, family members that I visited, KKK paintings and lynching photos. So I have this idea that it's never left the South, racism and all those issues and this entitlement and this systematic like brainwashing that we're not safe from people of color or Black people. So when I saw it, what I thought was, here's another group of women or a group of people that probably had a little too many Bud Lights or maybe some Chardonnay. And we're like, you know what? We're going to show them, like, they're not going to get our house. First of all, nobody wanted your house. Secondly, it was like, we're going to show them, like, I got my AK-47 or whatever he was holding. Like, it looked, I mean, honestly, he could have had a Nerf gun the way he was splashing it around. Because he didn't
look like that. It looked like that was his very first time grabbing his gun that he just purchased.
It was like I mean, seriously, it was like he got it for his birthday. And he was like, yes, I'm 14 and happy. So there was that was the perspective I saw. But you know what really stuck out to me? Because nobody was going to come and vandalize their home. I mean, to be quite honest.
Yeah, because I'll even make the argument when the moment that you do bring your gun out to a big mob, the mob, like there's a group of people, they're walking by your house. Nobody even knows who lives there at that moment.
No.
But the moment that you kind of make a spectacle and you show, hey, look at me, I have guns, I don't want you around me. Now you've turned something that nobody would have even known you were there in the first place. And now you've made us like, now you've made yourself, now people know who's there, and now they feel threatened and on the fence and nervous and scared.
You point a gun at my child because people are peacefully protesting. My kids went to a peaceful protest here. You walk out, we're at Walmart, say Walmart, Target, whatever. You point an AK-47 at my child and you look like that woman had beams coming out her eyes. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, she was like 5 glasses of wine in. She had something in her head that was not
She had
right.
mustard on her shirt.
She
Yeah,
was,
mustard on her
yeah,
shirt.
it was so
Like
tacky.
for here, I want to
So if you point a
screenshot
gun at my
this.
child, I'm going to already be on the defensive if I'm walking on a street that's public property and you're pointing an AK-47. If it was happening in a public school, we wouldn't be okay with it. If it was happening at a Target, we wouldn't be okay with them doing that. We'd be like, what are these crazy people holding these crazy guns for, pointing them at people? But they were like, I mean, there was one thing, and I'll stop, but one thing that caught me was the look of entitlement, the like, in her eye when she went, oh yeah. Like someone had said, how dare you or something. No one said anything to her. It was like she was having an internal dialogue within her own head and was like, try to come over here.
Dude,
and it was
then like y'all, because y'all both watched like the raw footage of that incident. When she the guy was out there first. He was out before like even like the first couple of people walked through the gate. The gate was open. Like I saw, and like I've got into some debates with people like, and some people that kind of defend them will say, no, the mob like broke down the gate. They didn't break down the gate. The gate was wide open. So, and when they started going into the neighborhood, the guy was already on his balcony, like on his patio area, and he's yelling at them like it's like you. And so, but he tells the media, no, they broke down my gate, and that's why I had to come out and defend myself. No, you were yelling at them before they even got in, and then that lady starts walking through her yard with the finger on the trigger, pointing it at people like just a couple yards away, and walking back and forth between the husband and back into her yard. Don't keep your finger on the damn trigger. It's so stupid.
That's one.
But if you were a black dude walking around like that, Tamir Rice,
if reverse,
it would have been horrible. But here's the thing, though. What I still don't grasp is the fact that there's a protest going in front of your mansion. I mean, that house is like a $3 million mansion, right? And it seemed to be doing well, right? And at no point did they think, yo, if I have this reaction to this crowd right here, is going to come back and bite me in the ass. As far as my law office, my reputation as a lawyer, people going to blast me. I'm going to be on social media. I'm going to be in the news. People are going to make memes about me and my wife. Like none of that crossed their mind in this day and age.
Yeah.
That this is not the right.
Because everybody knows this is like everyone's being recorded. No matter what you do, everyone's being recorded. Now, right after that, you're an internet legend now. There's so many memes.
And they thought their little liquid courage, and we're like, I mean, I can't assume, but that's why I wanted to bring it back to that. It's never really left the racism in these types of like. Everybody thinks that it's like some redneck from the South all the time that's carrying a Confederate flag, right? But I've lived it so much in all areas of the country, but especially the South. This has never really changed, this entitlement and this like, I'm going to show you. I mean, it's really like a them or us type of a scenario, and they really made it about like a war in that way. I was like, well, okay. Like anyone black had done that, like say it was a gay parade because my daughter is a part of the community, and a black couple comes out and they're like, we don't know if you'll vandalize our, come in and paint our house rainbow. We don't know. So they come out with their guns at a gay parade. It's going to be looked at completely different. And that's what I don't feel like we need to argue the semantics of it. It's just going to be taken completely differently no matter what.
Well, their website is down.
Yeah.
Their website is down, as the Yelp reviews I think are hilarious.
Yeah.
1 star.
Have y'all heard their their rebuttal to everything now that they've seen all the memes and stuff? So I saw the guy did a Zoom interview. He's claiming now that him and his wife are actually Black Lives Matter supporters, but they said that what they did was it went from they thought, oh, someone was breaking the gate, to now they're saying they saw 2 white guys start vandalizing like part of the fence. So that's who they were yelling at. They were yelling at the 2 white guys. I didn't see any 2 random white guys just destroying things in that video.
There's
and
other
but and
people
then
that
they
are
want to,
getting
and now they're
hurt.
gonna come. But it's like,
Yeah.
if now you want to backpedal because you see all this backlash and that you're a Black Lives Matter supporter and things like, it's just it doesn't, it's like revisionist history. It doesn't make sense. Like, because if you would have saw the whole crowd marching up all you have to do is ask one person, hey, what are y'all protesting? What's the
There's no way they
objective?
don't know.
We're gonna go. We're heading to your mayor's house. Hey, if I agree with, I'm gonna join y'all and ask for the resignation with you. But that's not what they did.
No, and their
They
attorneys.
decided to
Keep in
go
mind,
and
it's
take
their
this
job.
aggressive stance with the
You know, their
crowd
attorneys,
and
it's
show
their job to
guns.
tell the truth. They were taught to talk out of something. So, I mean, I have a lot of attorney friends and nothing against them, but like there's some really smart people when it comes to spinning things around. So, I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to say, I was a part of that and I was just pointing at the white people. No, your gun was going like at a 180 angle at any time.
Yeah.
You almost shot your wife. I mean, honestly.
You were pointing at everyone.
Here, watch this. Look at
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look
how
Like
crazy she looks.
Isn't it? What's the phrase? Like, why are black people so angry? Well, what is that? Like that is
yeah.
of anger.
Look,
Like,
This is Yelp,
and-
by the way. This is Yelp.
And then
this
Karen.
is so great. Like I mean, this is the face I was telling you about. Like, come at me.
He looks like the rainbow poster.
And you're not watching where you're pointing.
Yeah, it's just like, I think they because I don't think they thought they would become
Like right
internet
there.
memes.
Like, what if he would have shot her?
Oh yeah, you're putting
Nah,
your own gun
that's
at
made
your
up. That's Photoshop.
Okay.
That's Photoshop,
Okay.
but still, there was at one point he had his rifle.
I did see
pointed at
Twitter
her.
like the night it happened, and I saw the one, oh geez. I mean, I mean, honestly, I can't imagine. I mean, there might be some badass attorneys because those faces are
do you know
intense.
what kind of law they practice? Is it like
What do
personal
They do injury law.
personal injury?
Yeah, personal injury law.
So they're ambulance chasers, basically. That's good to know.
Well,
Yeah.
they're done.
But yeah, let's kind of like, I hope this is like a learning lesson to people, like going after like Black Lives Matter protesters is really bad for business. And that's what they're really like, I think they're gonna realize right now, because they're really trying to like reverse their whole narrative now. It went from, oh, they broke a gate and we thought they were gonna take but all the people are coming to their defense, saying that they support the right to bear arms amendment and all this stuff. Like, I get that stance, and I agree with it. Hey, I have weapons too. I have guns, but that I wouldn't ever approach a situation like that. That makes the whole situation way worse if you go and brandish your gun in front of a big mob like
So
that.
what do you guys say? It looks like Ernest and so my friends Ernest and Laura are on, and one's saying that they were on private property, and Laura's saying that gated communities are not private property. The protesters were on the sidewalk, not their property, which is what I know from being in a gated community. The sidewalk is actually public still. So
Yes.
I don't know if you have an
Regardless,
opinion on that.
they should have just come out. Like, nobody in those protests are armed anyway. There's kids.
Right.
There's kids walking as well. They could have just come out and say, hey, maybe don't come to our home, or hey, what's happening? There's a way to approach these things, and this was the worst way to do it.
Because people are saying like everyone has the right to defend their house, but if your house is being like attacked, your house they weren't under attack.
Right.
They were like you've now become like the aggressor in a situation. You're now attacking a crowd of people with guns. Like,
And
nobody,
people,
if I would agree. Like, if I would have saw any part of that video where a protester ran up into their porch or was trying to get access into their house, that couple has all like the right of way. They can do whatever they want at that point. But that did not happen, and you can't rewrite history. We have multiple videos, multiple angles, like high res photo. Like we see what happened. They were marching to somewhere else.
Good at rewriting history, Obi. That's the problem. Like, white people as a society, we've been really good at gaslighting Black culture by saying when something happens, we go, it's because you did it. You know, you know what gaslighting is. Most people know what gaslighting is. So we've said it's because you resisted arrest. It's because you broke the law. It's because you were walking. It was because you were jogging. It was because. So white people are very good at rewriting the history of something, which is, so an innocent man was killed today when two people shot him jogging. It was a guy who had been known to break into something. We're very
Yeah.
good. White,
Oh,
white
yeah.
It's
culture
like, but you
is very
didn't
good
know
at
that at the
rewriting
time
Black
when you
culture.
acted. Like they like to go and bring in all these other
Every
facts. Like,
time.
oh, this guy had a criminal history. Like that, you didn't know that. That doesn't explain your action for what you just did in that moment.
Yeah,
Like you
that's
can't.
been a huge part of like when I tried to, I'm trying to learn as much as I can. Like I don't know everything about the Black history myself, but for years this is something that I've tried because I have two white children that I need to do my part on, right? So I mean, I'm looking at it and I'm trying to do as much as I can, and I'm thinking about how much is adjusted, and it looks like every single time a Black man is killed by police, if a white person's killed, it's a different story. They were great. They were so much a part of the community. They could have 3 DUIs. They could have molested a child. They could have done anything, sexual assault. They're still a good person, right? But I watched a documentary the other day. The guy was a pedophile, and at the end of the documentary, he was honored when he died in the most great way. But if a Black person does something, it's immediately we have to find the dirt to discredit them as a good person. So with George Floyd, it was he was on drugs or he was on fentanyl or whatever, not saying what he did in his community. Or Philando Castile, how do you say Castile?
Yeah.
Is that what his name was?
Philanders.
Yeah, like it was the same thing. He was so well known in his community, but they had to try to find something which is not there. But every time, that's what I'm saying. White people have a really good way, white culture, of rewriting what is actually there and gaslighting Black culture. And even I have some Black friends that have been like, I've taught my kids, well, don't resist arrest years ago, right? And now they're going, well, I mean, no one's resisting arrest. They were just jogging or they were just sitting in a car. So what do I tell them now? So I do think there's a bigger thing. And I was even telling a friend the other day about Black Wall Street because she had no idea. So history is rewritten. And she's like, what do you mean Black Wall Street? I don't even know what that means. And I had to tell that story. And she was like, where is that? Like, she didn't believe
They
me.
don't teach that. They don't teach that in school. Like
No, I was like, Black Wall Street was doing amazing. Didn't need white help. Didn't need welfare because she was making this welfare argument.
For those who don't know, and I'll be honest, including me, what is Black Wall Street?
So Black Wall Street, I won't get the dates right. So it was a long time ago. So I'm going to be basic as hell. I'm just, because I don't want to mess the dates up and someone call me out on the semantics. But it was right when civil rights and everything before the civil rights movement like really hit, Black people were able to buy a bunch of land and they were building their own communities. They were building their own businesses and they were kicking ass. They were self-sufficient. Everything was going really, really great. And white people were like, we don't really like that. That's not working for us because we can't control that. We don't like that. And it's not that they didn't like it because they were losing money to them. It's just a racist thing. It's like, you can't be above us. You can't look like you went from slaves to these amazing people, right?
Yeah,
so what
like
happens
this is like the first city to successfully kind of do it, like the black community to kind of do it themselves, where they on the whole street, their own Black hotels, Black
What city
businesses.
was it?
Tulsa.
This is in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oh, okay.
What happens is a white girl decides. The facts are a little different on if they think that someone set it up or if she really just said it because whatever. But she says that she was sexually assaulted. Before 24 hours, before 24 hours is even up, the guy is guilty immediately. This black guy's guilty, right? And so a white mob is like, we're going to go kill him. So in the course of that, we're going to go kill this dude because he sexually assaulted this person. There was his community, Black guys in his community were like, we're not going to let him go down. We're going to protect him. So in the case of that happening, white men were killed because they were fighting each other. Like they were protecting. So the white mob comes for this individual. And in the process of that, white men get killed. I mean, and then that's on them, right? Well, what happens is because white men got killed and the white culture unjustly, they burned the entire city, entire Black Wall Street down. Buildings were bombed. They dropped bombs on like areas of this whole entire square, this entire thing. They took, I mean, people couldn't even get their businesses back. They got no
massacre.
Because some white girl lied?
Yes, because a white girl lied and men were killed. So it's weird to me so for the protester argument, this is why I had to tell her this. I was like, do you understand Black Wall Street? Was it this exact same thing, but flipped? That she says, well, they're out there ruining property and they're burning things down. Okay, well, history teaches us that it's okay that when white people were killed in an incident that happened because of racial tensions. They burned the entire thing down, and nobody could get their businesses back. And that started to lead to the kind of the digression in Tulsa at that point to what we see now. Like the culture just sort of died because it was like, if we try to build anything, they will burn it down. So that's something I think is important, you know, that we don't know these little gems. White people have been so good at rewriting history that even you didn't know about that, right, Bach?
Yeah. And that's why, like, when Trump wanted to do his first rally back at Tulsa, it was so infuriating. Like, you're gonna pick the one place in America where it was a massacre, and you're gonna do it on the holiday that's Juneteenth.
I thought it was about the Juneteenth thing more than
Juneteenth is a whole different thing that white people don't know about either. That's crazy.
Yeah, and it was like two different things. He just piled on the same thing to kind of like you think subconsciously you're just like stick it to black people. Like, hey, I'm gonna celebrate a Tulsa on your. It's
like
weird.
the people that had the guns. There's this level. I mean, I've lived in different levels of status in society. Like, we live in a 1-bedroom apartment right now, and people will go with your kids, you know, and in the area we live in, they're like a 1-bedroom apartment, and we have a studio, our bedrooms in the living room, and then the kids share a room. I've lived in trailer parks most of my life. Anybody that's, I saw my family member come on. So like, I lived in trailer parks my whole life. So small spaces are comfortable to me. But I have a cultural diversity. My high school was mostly black. And then I married someone that had money. So I lived in status. And then I've kind of made my own money and lost it and made it and lost it over the years. So I've been in all those levels. And I've seen, and people go, it's just those redneck, trashy, white trash people that are racist. I have seen the most intense, like crazy, no, you will not overdo me. You will not be a successful black man in front of me. You will not, Black Girl Magic, hashtag Black Girl Magic is not going to be in my female group. Like, it's in the highest levels of elitism that is like, how dare you? And I know of a story too in the South where like I had I grew up on a chicken farm, like a reservation. And there was a black black family that came into the area and bought a farm off of a white man, who couldn't do it anymore. I think he died and they sold it off. So the black man brings his family, they come in and they're doing really, really well. And so it was really strange because it got burned down. Like the whole farm and everything that like the farm and the harvest got burned to the ground. Like it was a wheat field and everything was supposed to be harvested and it got burned down. And for years, nobody knew who it was. And then later on, when I got older, I actually found out it was somebody that we knew's family. And it was his dad that burned it down, even though he was friends with the guy. And he said, "Why did you burn it down?" Like he was like us. He was just trying to like live, and he was poverty level like us. And he said, "I couldn't have a N-word being more successful than me."
Have you had to cut people off, like from your Facebook friends or family members that you're like, you know what, I can't fuck with you anymore because of what you believe?
I mean, look, I have Tupac hanging on my wall. I am not the favorite to a lot of people in my family or my life. Like, and people
listen
ask
to Tupac?
I got it. So I grew up in the 90s, and I was a hip hop dancer, and I told you, I mean, I went to a predominantly black high school, so it was a whole different world for me. I moved to Arkansas for that. When I was in Mississippi, I was really surrounded by racism. And my first instance with racism was I was in kindergarten, and I could read. I was advanced for that age, and I could read, and I was looking at a globe. My best friend was black. And this is why I know that like kids are not born racist. Like this gets to them. I'm looking at the globe and it says Niger. And so, phonics, I look at it and I think the other word, I think N-word, right? So I go to my little black friend. I go, "This must be where you guys are from." Very innocently, right? There's no way I thought this was a bad word. And she's like, "What? What do you mean?" And I said, "The word, because so you have to be from this place that looks like that word." And she goes, "Oh," and then she just starts bawling. And I had a black teacher at the time, so she wasn't having it. She was like, "I don't know about this." So she sends me to the principal. And what sticks out in that memory for me is that I go to the principal, and I'm in Mississippi. It was Greenwood, Mississippi. I'll never forget it. And I go, and he says, I tell him what happened, and teacher's there, whatever. And then she leaves, and he says, okay, we're going to sit here for a little bit. And then when you leave, just act like I gave you a paddling or something, but don't worry about this. They're too sensitive. And I was like, and the reason people go, you were too young, you can't remember that, you're making it up for just stories or whatever. No, the reason I could remember is because he committed suicide over the weekend. So there was a trauma attached to it for me. And so it wasn't about me, it was about his wife was cheating on him. But because of that trauma, I can remember what happened that day. So I remember him distinctly being like, they're too sensitive. So that was my first racial experience of me being a racist. You would think that my last racist experience would be that, right? Or maybe in teens, or maybe in 20s. My most recent racist experience of me being a racist was about 3 months ago. And I'm not proud of this, but it's important to tell it.
Sure, go
I
ahead.
was sitting here, and I'll stop taking over the talk. But I was sitting watching TV, and I don't watch TV often, so I don't see ads a lot. And there was I might get a little emotional because I'm still kind of ashamed of this, but I'll try to hold it in. So I'm watching TV, and a mattress commercial comes up, and it's a Hispanic owner, and he's like, come on down, we're having 50% off sale. We would love to have you. He's going to have a cowboy hat, dressed really like a cowboy. And I look at the name, and it says USA Mattress. And I'm in marketing. Before becoming a coach, I was in marketing. So I think in marketing ways. And I was like, my brain went into racist mode, because it has to be trained for the rest of my life. I'll have to be trained out of it, right? So I said, why would a Mexican guy, that's what I said first, my brain says this, why would a Mexican guy be naming his company USA Mattress unless he's just trying to fit in? He is American, and he may not even be from Mexico. My brain said that, holy shit, you were just racist. And I remember calling my friend who's Hispanic, and I told her about it, and I was like, upset about it. And I was like, how am I going to teach my kids if I can't even deal with it myself? And I just remember her telling me, Kim, you are racist. It's okay. Be okay with being racist. And then you'll be able to move past it. You can forgive yourself and retrain yourself. As long as you're okay with saying, I know what I am, I have Lyme disease. I know I have it, so I can say I have Lyme disease, and I can seek treatment for that. Racism is the same. If we can't admit it when it's happening, and we can't admit that we're doing it, we can't fix it within ourselves. So I won't take over the rest of it, but I thought those two.
Yeah,
okay,
that's an interesting, but I wouldn't call, I honestly
wouldn't call that racism, honestly.
I wouldn't call that, I think it would be ignorance. I would call that more ignorance.
The racism came because of what I grew up with about Mexicans.
But are you coming from a hey, this is an inferior,
because I don't think that, I don't your
race. If you're coming from a position of power, where you're going, how dare this guy do this and be, name his thing USA Mattress.
But that's what my brain did think. That's what I'm saying. My brain was like, how dare he do that?
Well, I mean, the fact that one, you acknowledged it, and two, you talked about it.
Yeah,
that's great. But here's the misconception that I've seen people wear shirts that said "end racism." It's not going anywhere. We all have, prejudice is out there, stereotypes are out there. I mean, I'll tell you straight up, when there's a mass shooter, we all go, oh, another white guy did it. Is that racist? Yeah. I don't know. That's the first thought that comes to mind.
And I think everybody has those thoughts, but it's it's what you do after the fact of having those thoughts. If you take those negative thoughts, start going in and you behave differently based off of it, a mass shooter, it's a white guy, and then you go out in the world and you start running away from every single white kid, and you just start accusing them you fucking shooter, now you're a racist. At that point, you've now become racist because you took the thought and you started acting on that.
Exactly. So
that's good to know, because it's good for us to understand where the lines are, because I even still get so confused. And I think a lot of white people do at times where they're scared to ask questions or they're scared to put something out because they don't know what's the right thing. And I've just learned I would rather be wrong and called out on it than to not to know and to not be a part of the conversation. So that makes more sense. I
here's
appreciate
the
that.
thing. Here's the thing that helps is that we tend to judge an entire group of folks based on an experience from one person. So just like we used to, there's this one white guy that, shut up at school, then all white guys are like that. Or there's one black guy who who committed a crime, so all black guys are like that. And so you got to be careful about lumping everybody together. Like I have a friend, for example, that like she was abducted by Mexican people when she was a kid. So for years, she was just like, no, you know what? Mexicans, not for me. I'm gonna stay away from them. I'm gonna cross the street. I'm gonna look at them funny and all that stuff. And it took her a while to realize that what she was doing was wrong. And instead of, putting all Mexicans in the same bucket, she just realized, oh, it's just those guys that were bad. And that goes for any group. It goes for black people. It goes for cops. It goes for white people, Hispanics, Asians. But I mean, stereotypes are there for a reason. I mean, because they're based on some kind of truth, right? But you got to be careful when you start. Say what?
No, I was just like, yeah, you're right. It's like the acknowledgement of it, like, keeps you in check.
Yeah, it's just like saying fuck the police. Okay, not all cops are bad.
Right.
There's some good ones out there. So you just got to be careful making this distinction between one person or group of folks that fuck it up for the rest of that group.
Yeah.
And not just lump everybody in the same bucket.
And I think that's the thing about where we're not I think I talked about this in the last thing that you guys said, and you guys touched on it. Like younger cultures are starting to put together things that don't make sense as much because they have a lot, I ask a lot of questions. So I pushed back on my family. When I went home and told my mom in kindergarten, hey, this is what happened, my mom had to be like, oh gosh, and be like, we won't say that word around here anymore, and that kind of thing. They also took down the rebel flag a couple years ago because I actually explained why their grandkids were not happy coming up to my mom and papa's and seeing a rebel flag because they have black friends and they know the actual history. Mm-hmm. So my parents have been very receptive in those ways, and I've appreciated that. But I saw here, it looks like Ernest and Laura were still going back about something. So I don't know if you guys want to talk about that.
Yeah. I wanted
go for it.
They had a nice conversation going.
I did want to say that my daughter had pointed out something. We're very like try to be self-aware kind of world. Like I'm a coach. We talked about that. I'm a speaker. I have self-help books, but like I've made a lot of, F up mistakes in my life too. And so I'm trying to always be aware as much as I can. And my daughter, the other, like 6 months ago, Christmas time, we love the Hallmark movies. We love the ones, if you've ever watched them, they're always setting
even though they're the super cheesiest thing ever.
They're so cheesy, super, like this is super cheesy town. There's always like a baker and a butcher, and the girl always comes from the big city, and she runs into the dude. And we noticed, my daughter's like, why are every one of these movies, because we just started watching them on Netflix and binging them one Saturday, there's only one black person in every single one of these. And I was like, well, this is just generally like movies and movie history and TV history in general, sweetheart. And she's like, yeah, the shows we're watching right now have no people of color leads, or she's, like I said, she's in the gay community. So she's like, or like LGBT representation. How is this still going on in 2020? And I was like,
I brought this point up a couple of podcasts ago, because I was listening to this radio host that I've listened to for years, but over time I would always hear him make this like statement where, the movie Ghostbusters is coming back, but now they're gonna reboot it with all black cast or something, or no, and then another movie was like, oh, they're gonna the family vacation. Let me guess, they're gonna do an all black cast, or it's gonna be all gay people. And it's and to me, I whenever he would do this joke and or this statement, and it seemed like it's like the most racist statement somebody can make because because it's like you don't ever hear any other minority group saying, oh, what's the like
Bad
ET,
boys.
like ET.
Yeah.
Let me guess, it's gonna be an all white cast, or
Well,
Yeah.
first of all, they gotta stop with the remakes and stuff. Come up with new shit and include
Yeah.
Yeah.
folks in it.
But yeah,
Because
but
Black Superman is gonna be weird to me.
yeah, like. Or
I
but
mean,
it's just
but
with any
'cause-
movie. But any movie, we don't like any group. We don't always say after every single movie that's coming out. Sonic.
You don't have
Let
that
me.
argument.
Oh, is it? Let me guess. An all white cast. Like we like the reason that these things make news is because if the group doesn't ask for it, it doesn't get made. Like the whole country here is so used to always seeing white faces on everything that sometimes you would like to see like a Spanish telenova or a black family kind of celebrating Christmas, or a Jewish family like a,
yeah, but you know what?
doing it's just you would want to see different people's culture, and
But
I think that's a big debate now. Everyone is trying to figure out what's culture. Like,
what's
And
culture?
just as much as
yeah,
like,
I think the people
just
that
as
like
much
are
as,
so
like,
against
white-
like they're stealing my heritage, like they're want to take down these statues,
Yeah.
and they call
I
that
was gonna
culture.
say it should be just as much of like white people should want their kids to see this diversity as much as like people go, well, we need to do it for black people so that little black kids growing up, people will say this stupid stuff like, so when little black kids grow up, they can see representation on TV. Absolutely. But your white kids should be seeing that too.
Yep.
Because I grew up with like watching because of my friends. I told you, like I grew up in a predominantly black area. So I was raised by like my friends, their mamas, their aunties. So I watched movies that, I thought were normal. And so I never understood that imbalance in TV. And so
Yeah.
like, I'm really into black comedy, Cat Williams, old stuff, Richard Pryor and different things. And like Bad Boys.
Watching
Yeah.
Live in Color, and you saw
Yeah.
Jim Carrey, and you
And
went, yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
But see,
Right? So,
and
I mean, it's
and
funny.
that's
We
the thing
don't
I love
watch
about
them.
you too.
I don't even watch white comedy because it doesn't resonate with me. It's not funny. I'm like, y'all, because they're not funny.
But no,
Like, I'm
but
used
like
to other stuff. And my son is the same. He's like, can we go back to Cat Williams and Kevin Hart? Because this is not funny to me.
Kevin Hart's not funny no
Yeah.
more. Sorry.
Well,
No,
yeah.
it's
like, but the same way, but
yeah,
it's like, but
anything
Kim,
makes
like
sense.
that's I love that you feel that way because like we like me and Beck, like we're black, but we love like white culture too. Like we grew up on Rugrats or Doug and
Yeah.
Maybe
or
you
maybe
did.
not you, but maybe you're too old. Hey
Yeah.
Arnold or whatever that stuff is like, but
Yeah.
we've grown up on all these things, so. But it's just like it would be nice to have like the other group kind of take like enjoy or maybe that's the only time that they think it's acceptable to kind of like look at black culture is when we're playing sports or we're making music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
to
like
that
we
point,
have a
to
lot
that point,
more
hold on.
than just like entertainment. So
And put a pin on Laura and them so you guys can move to them next because they said don't forget about them.
yeah.
Oh, about the gated community. Sorry, we're supposed to go.
yeah,
back.
yeah. We keep like go back.
Sorry,
to
the conversation moved along. Hold on. Let's go back to this real quick.
Okay.
So they were saying that if a mob
Basically, they're
breaks
just
down the
saying
gate
that it's
in your
different on the communities. But I think at the end of the day, it just comes down to other parades are had in that private community. And here's the thing, Ernest, I love you. You're a great dude. But here's the argument. Like, you're saying it was private property that they were on, and then you're saying, but I don't agree with them pointing the guns. At the end of the day, they were pointing guns. End of story. I think that's where you end it.
Yeah, that
was
was
just
like I said. There's a better way to handle this. They didn't break down the gates. First of all, it'd be one thing if this went up and blew up the gates and then just rushed it and then start throwing bricks at your house.
The
That I
truth will
get.
always come out. They did not break the gate. No matter everyone that keeps saying that they broke the gate. The gate is wide open. That's how they walked into that private property. So
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Do you have hope for the next generation, for your kids?
Me? Oh, I'm the
Yeah.
only one with kids.
Hope he doesn't
yeah.
have kids.
I
I have
So
one.
I'm-
and it's 2 years old.
I don't have
I
kids that I know of.
Oh crap.
I'm joking.
mean, I only have kids that I know of. So, here's where I think my privilege comes in. I have hope, but I think it's because there is a little bit of privilege that allows me that hope, because I haven't been oppressed and beaten and seen things go on repeatedly all the time. I've had a lot that I've seen, but I haven't seen it from the viewpoint of a Black perspective, right? So I'm always going to have hope. I mean, I'm going through what I'm going through. I told you guys, I've had 2 divorces. I have a disease. I've almost died. So if I don't have hope for my kids, then like I can't survive. I can't make a better world for the present time, right? If I think that the future looks so dark, I can't be happy in the present or have any joy. So I have to have that. But I will tell you that and I don't want to, I don't want to sound like I'm trying to be mindful of what I say here because I don't know the best way. So I'm just going to say it and maybe you guys can help me.
Sure.
I don't want to sound like a white savior or something, or that my kids are amazing, but my kids are very educated on Black culture, Black history, as much as we can be right now. So when I see my kids acting the way that they do, last week I posted a video of here, the school that my kids go to, Alamo Heights. I sent it to you, Obi. These 3
Yeah, I remember this.
that were yelling the N word with an A and then just being stupid. And this school system is known for being racist. They're very influential. They're very white. They are, a lot of people have money here. Okay. And my kids go to that school. So my daughter sent the video to me and asked me to post it. And I said, sure, I will. I posted it. All of this stuff goes down. One of the kids knows some city commissioner. So all this stuff gets swept under the rug. They release a statement on the news, whatever. The girls are not really, nothing happens. But here's the thing. I start getting threats that Jaden, my son, is going to get beat up as soon as he goes back to school, or Maddie's going to get raped.
What?
And so I asked my kids, do you want me to take the video down? And Jade said, no. If I get beat up, I'll just go back to school. You'll keep doing your thing. This is not anything compared to what Black people have been through.
What? Nah, that's not acceptable.
Are you
And
serious?
I was like, dude,
You got any kids? Somebody
you
sending
don't-
death threats to someone's kids?
yeah. And I was like, dude, I was like, baby, I appreciate you being willing to go back to school and take a beating, but they could be deadly. So we do need to talk about this as a family, about how to approach this, what we do. Because what he was saying is Black people have been through worse than me getting beat up. You know what he's saying? Like, he's like, they're getting killed. So I'm still I want you to still stand up. And I do it. So I have hope because my kids get emotional when they see injustice. My daughter wants to be a civil rights attorney. She has since she's been 10. And like, we watch all of these things with everything. And she doesn't want to do that for any credit. She's like, I know people will hate me. I mean, she's obviously she's gay. So she's going to be looked at. She passes for straight because people look at her and think, well, she must be straight because she's got a certain look to her. But I have hope for future generations. I just don't know that I have hope that it will be fixed by the time that they're the ages we are. I don't know, really. I think that as the world mixes, I'm already seeing patterns. It's my job to read patterns online. I'm already seeing the numbers be outnumbered. White men are dying off. People are mixing races. Things are happening. I do feel that certain things will move a certain way. I just don't know that it's as quick as some of us think. With this last movement, we thought it would be quicker. And then I started to see my feed go back to normal. And I was like, we were almost there. And some of my feed still has a lot of people talking about it, but everybody that was claiming that they were going to make a better world and they were going to do this and do that, it's just fallen off. So it's tricky. I'm just always going to have hope that there's going to be better things, but all I can hope for is that my kids can do their proper job in being what they can be. And I have a live video that I did a couple, when Ahmaud Arbery got killed. I said, white women, this is to you. It's our job to think about these things when they happen. Who raised them? Not always was it white women. Maybe it was a grandma or their dad raised them. But a lot of times these men that have murdered these police officers or these guys that killed Ahmaud Arbery, they were raised by a white woman, or a dad that was racist, that the white woman was just like, whatever their dad says. So we need to take responsibility also as white women in how we're educating our children, what we're allowing their friends to say around them. My kids know, like, it's how I grew up. If my kids say something off or weird or something, if I hear them in the other room or if I'm sitting next to them, like, I grew up so Southern, especially in Mississippi, that speaker Kim is very different than Mama Kim. So Mama Kim is like, sorry, what'd you say? And then they'll be like, oh, sorry, Mama. And then they learn quickly and they never do that again. So if I put my kids in check, then I'm less likely to have to write it. Like I said this in a talk the other day. If I put my kids in check on racism, on sexual abuse and all those things and sexual assault, then I'm less likely to have to write a check for their bail later if they get caught or they do something stupid. Because this kid that shot Ahmaud Arbery, I mean, his life is done too. And who raised him? We don't know. But as a white mom, it's my job. I'm not actually that white. Most people, I pass. That's what's so bizarre. I'm actually like 40% Choctaw, and I lived on reservations, but I passed, so I don't talk about it. So I have a culture there too that I know of massacres, and my whole culture has disappeared in a lot of ways from mainstream society. But my kids are white, and as a person who passes for white, that's all I have to focus on. I don't need to run around telling people, you can't talk to me. I've got Cherokee. I'm 1/8 Cherokee. We've got
nobody will buy it.
black
Doesn't
people
matter.
down our, you know what I mean? Like that. I mean, I hear that so much that it's so old. But I can only do my job as a white mom, and my friends' kids have even known, like, you come over to Maddie and Jaden's house, like you might get Miss Kim saying like her opinion, because if I hear them say something that's off that they think is a joke, I'll be like, we don't do that here, and then we have a talk. It's more than we don't do that here. We actually have a talk that's open and a discussion, and those kids get to tell me why they think that, why they believe that, and then I just get to tell them what I think, and we go from there. So I think I have hope. I just don't know what the timeline is. If you guys had kids right now, would you have
I have one.
Yeah,
You
Beth
have a
has
kid? I didn't
a
see that. I
child.
didn't have my
Yeah,
research
I have one. Mixed kid is 2.5.
So where are you on it?
Where am I?
Yeah,
With
what do
like
you
the
think?
whole,
What scares me is that, yeah, he's he's mixed, and my first reaction when the George Floyd thing happened was like, yeah, that could be my son, because no matter how you look at it, he's black. He is half white too, but if anybody runs into him, they'd be like, look, he's black no matter what. So what scares me the most about the next generation is the fact that they've grown up in this information overload world where you're bombarded all the time. You have this thing in your pocket that opens the world to you, and you're living behind a screen. And so the lack of conversation is what scares me the most for next generation, because when we were kids, if you didn't understand something, you had family talks. You would, go talk to your mom, talk to your dad, talk to your cousins, your uncle, your family about issues, and you would discuss it. And nowadays you don't necessarily get your information from your school. You don't get your information from your family. You get it online, and you get it from other people that you don't know. And if you don't know how to process that as a kid, it's hard to deal with life. It's going to be really, really tough, because either you're in this bubble and you only like interact with people who agree with you, or you see the kind of vicious rhetoric that's out there, and you get emotional, and that angers you even more, and then you lash out, and you don't know how to deal with it. That's what scares me the most about the next generation. The fact that they're more aware of things today than maybe we were back then in terms of social issues. That's great. But as far as how to process it and how to act on it, that's a scary place. Because I mean, at some point, was that?
No, no. Oh, no.
No. So because, like, for instance, even something like saying the N word for a mixed kid. I know guys my age who are mixed who say it all the time, for example, right? But I'm gonna have to have that conversation with them and say, look, you have to know the history behind this word, and you're gonna have to, be careful um, about it. And
Uh,
and the thing is, people don't realize how. I mean, I see people all the time at shows and rap shows that just start rapping along the songs, and then the N word comes on, and they just say it out loud. They just say it out loud. I'm like, all right,
this
is that
actually
okay?
brings like, because I had a topic that I wanted to get both of your takes on today, and the people in the chat, because first of all, Kim, I'm really sorry that after you posted that video that your kids and yourself were getting death threats. Like, there's a lot of for some reason there's a lot of keyboard warriors out there.
I mean, it's
I,
okay.
they're coming out of the woodworks. Like, even like during
People are
this, throughout
vicious
the
online.
throughout this past month, I've been pretty vocal about speaking out on multiple different issues, and I have people have no clue how they found me, or they're saying my stuff, but they'll send me anonymous messages on
Yeah.
Instagram, Facebook, and and because like you're anonymous, you're in fucking states away, you think that you're untouchable. Like, he can't get to me, so I'll say the most vile shit to him right now while I'm behind his keyboard. But this brings me to what I wanted to bring up. Do both of y'all think do you think society as a whole enjoys fighting?
Yes,
Like,
I've said it
because
before.
I'm noticing something like, well, you could take something as simple as mask being required to go outside or go into businesses,
Hmm.
and you have, it's like you have one group over here, like, that's fighting everyone do a mask. It's so, it, like, something that you think is so, like, kind of just self explainable. Like, you don't, like, who needs to kind of fight against this, or and then they have another side that wants to, like, pull up all these statistics and points and fight it. It's like there's people feel a need to always be devil's advocate on no matter what the issue is.
Here's a,
I'm to the point where I feel like we could literally have a debate about, hey, the sky is blue, and somebody's gonna feel like there's gonna have to be devil's advocate, like, actually the sky is not blue, and we will have this whole week of debate about that. It's just like, and I'm just thinking, like, as a society, are we just programmed to fight with each other? Like, is
put it
this
this way.
always gonna keep
I have my
Easier.
happening?
opinion,
It's
but I'll let
easier
Zach
for
say what he's
humans.
gonna say.
It's easier for people to criticize than to actually support. It's way if
Yes.
you have an idea, it's easier for me to shit on it without any reason, without any explanation, than go, oh yeah, let me add to this. Let me compliment what you're saying. Let me see, how I can help or make a better argument. It's easier to shit on something, first of all.
And
Second,
here,
so
no, I was sorry. Here
yeah,
it is. Go ahead.
um, it's really and I brought this up before. It's weird that there's always a conflict about anything in this country. Anything. Black, white, gay, straight, Democrat, Republican, South, North, Midwest versus the coast. There's always a
Yeah.
versus somewhere. People, it's like it's ingrained in this culture that you have to your team, you know, you're a Cowboys fan, so whoever talks shit about the Cowboys, you're gonna get crazy.
Yeah.
I'll
It
give
was
I'll
like,
give you let me tell you a story. Let
like,
me tell you a story real quick.
okay, yeah, yeah.
I was, and this might sound like trivial, but that was weird to me. I worked at I was an usher at the for UT when I went there, and I worked at the women's athletics department. And so there's a soccer game going on, and it's UT versus NM, or one of those things. And one UT lost by like 6 zeros, and the goals that A&M scored were actually pretty spectacular. Like they were like, head ins and everything. And I stood there, and when A&M scored, I went, "Oh, that was a pretty good play." I got so much shit about that just right behind me. I just clapped a little bit, and they were like, "No, how dare you? You wearing a UT shirt, you motherfucker! Why would you cheer for the other team?" I'm like, "Calm down. That was a nice goal. Can you just accept that?" And that might sound trivial, but it comes down to it's easier to talk shit than to actually find something in common and try to complement and try to add on to the conversation.
So what
It's
I
like,
was gonna say is like what I coach in is mindset. We talked about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's my job for as long as I've like learned what I've done and studied psychology and all of that is to understand where we come from as people and our psyche and all of the subconscious and all of that. So I started when I was in my 20s after a sexual assault, going to therapy and trying to understand some, certain things about my personality. I was a contrarian. And this was before people were actually contrarians a lot more than they are now. And so I didn't understand why that was. And I spoke with my therapist and she said, well, it's an egotistical, it's an ego. There's two parts of the brain, ego and self. Won't go too down the rabbit hole. But the ego needs to find something to challenge. Like you can actually be addicted. Like in my family, we're addicted to drama. We all talk about each other. We're 5 siblings. There's drama in the family. We just talk shit. Oh no, she said, they said. And so you can be addicted to that. You can grow up in that. And so you have that, first of all. And what happens is that we had that less because they're people in homes. We didn't have the social media. We didn't have the anonymity. So it's become worse for us because now we can argue and we don't like to feel inferior. So you have a whole group of people that used to not have voices, because if you look at status, the people that had voices were in government, or they were in like elite positions, or they were speakers of some sort. And now you have everybody that can be an expert. Even in my field as a coach, you can call yourself any damn type of coach you want to do, right? You can just throw a life coach fucking thing up here and be a life coach and be a mindset coach. And I'll call myself out on that. Anybody can. I speak for myself with my testimonials, but anybody can do that. So what happens is the ego says, no, I know so many people that are actually people. They just want to argue just to argue, because if they can be smarter than you, they had a voice and it made them feel superior for a moment. So I don't know if you ever see
100%,
but there's a
100%.
actually, when you see like on the threads going and they'll go, well, actually, and you're like, do you really believe that? Or you just wanted to look smart?
Yeah, and they don't. Yeah, a lot of I see them. People do that all. It's like you don't even actually mean this statement, but for some reason you're compelled to spit this out. And I was like, what's the motive? What's the end goal? Do you want to just prove that you're smarter at debating than somebody, or are you gonna do you actually have it in yourself to kind of
because social
sympathize
media even the playing field, like because social media allowed anyone to have a platform for any opinion. And here's the thing, it's mob mentality, and it's the culture that America has bred. So America started, first of all, as the biggest bully of all, that we were like, we are so amazing, we are everything, right? And you have that, and you're patriotic, and so then you have that competition as a fucking country. We are the best country in the world.
Yes,
that's what I think. That's what Americans think patriotism is like. Hey, we like
USA,
boasting about it.
USA.
Yeah, you have to like being patriot is like you have to be very loud and yell it. It's
over
not
the top,
proud,
and wear
over
the
the
flags,
top.
and
I mean, I was
like
so
that is like, and that's just the culture.
And to find people that did not like me because I was American, I was humbled. I was like, oh shit, y'all don't like us, and y'all think we're dumb.
I know.
I learned that
when I went over to Europe.
He
back lived in Europe for.
I grew up in France.
He knows how people look at America.
Not that the French people are great, but you know what's funny? To Trevor Noah has a joke, and he says, the United States is the only country when people chant the name of the country, USA. No other country goes. England doesn't go England.
No,
England. No, they don't do that. France doesn't go France. Only in America, people will chant at like someone just needs to start USA and everybody joins in. When they were protesting downtown Austin about when what's his face, Alex Jones was driving down with his armored vehicle going no mask. People like USA, really? Yeah, that's your argument.
This is not a USA.
It's not a USA thing.
But we're American. Okay, what American? You're South American, or you're North American, or what? Like,
yes, we are.
But we think that we're the best American.
Yes,
there's a whole bunch of countries that are American.
Yeah.
Here's an argument. Here's an argument that I've gotten into since I came here 21 years ago, and I would ask people, hey, how many continents? And when they list them out, it says 7. We're taught 5 in France. And when it says 7, they always say North America, South America. And I just challenged them and said, where's the hole? Because the Panama Canal was built. So, and even North America, you know, there's Canada, there's Mexico, and then there's the US.
Yeah.
But when you say American, you know what country you're talking about, even though there's other countries that are part of that continent. And people will get so mad about that. Just because that was
it's like,
question.
It's like we stole it. We stole the name America.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
Mexicans are Americans.
We are the most narcissistic, sort of brainwashed from politics in those ways, that we are better than the other cultures. We are this, like these other countries have all of these issues. And if you actually go over and you look at other things and you look at statistics and you educate yourself, you realize like how far behind we are in a lot of ways. So we don't want to admit that.
This is
like
going to turn into a Shit on America podcast.
Yeah, the bully at school doesn't want to believe that he's not smarter than the nerd kid, right? So he's just gonna beat him up. He's just gonna be like, I'm stronger than you, so I'm just gonna beat you up.
Yep.
Yeah. I think there's a level of ego that goes with that part of it. Like, we don't humble ourselves as Americans enough and say we could learn from different things. Like, I get called French a lot because of the way that my house looks, sans certain things, but like even my clothing, like it's a joke around here that Maddie's French teacher thought that maybe like I had lived in France for a while when she saw our house that in the back. And my friends are French, and so I was talking with someone about it, and they were like, your clothing and all of these different things. And I said, well, I gravitate toward that, and it seems natural for me, and I like that vibe. And I don't feel that I have to stick with one like look because of American culture. And she was like, yeah, I never really thought about that. And I never thought like like a person could look this way. And I'm like, because Americans just steal all the cultures. They just steal all the cultures.
All the cultures are here
it's
too.
weird because like I feel very a lot of American pride, and I feel very patriotic, but for some reason people look at me and they don't think that I fit the American image, like, because I don't wear red, white, and blue. I don't have
your name is Obi.
I'm not, no, but listen to me. I'm not waving the American flag or this. Like, people, for some reason, that has become like the symbol of American patriotism. But like, no, I was like, I really value our Constitution. Our Constitution. I like these values that the country has and what it means. And when you have like leaders threatening that and really like not following the rules, it's just but the people that kind of have that kind of look at like that image, that wave the American flag and scream the loudest, you think that they're the most, you think that they're really valuing it too. No, you just because you dress like this symbol doesn't mean that you're really supporting what this country is about and where the pride comes from. It's just, and since our culture is so kind of like likes to argue with each other, like I feel like the only time in history that I remember that the whole country was all on the same page at the same time about the issue was September 11th. That's the only time I remember, is like when September 11th happened, we were all like, hey guys, we're all in this together, because it's kind of like,
except for Arabs, because people were pissed off.
Yeah, it felt so amazing to have that feeling, but then also like,
and then but it was short-lived, because right after that, then debates started about, do we go to war with this country or not? And then the split happened again. It's like we had a week or so where we're no matter who you talk to, nobody was trying to play devil's advocate and say, hey, I think they were justified in bombing. Like, no, everybody here was on the same page with, this is a horrible act and we need to stick together and take care of our own. And that's the only time I didn't see what this culture is right now, where everyone, no matter how simple of an issue is, like, hey, wear a mask just to protect yourself and people. But people feel the need to, like, you know what? Nah, I don't think it's
I ain't wearing no mask.
I'm not wearing a mask.
I'm not getting a muzzle on my face like a dog.
I've seen reports where it doesn't work.
It carries across all topics though. So that's what I said, it goes into the mentality. It's vaccines, it's the mask, it's football. Which one's better? It's sports. It's how you raise your kids. In my world, homeschooling, or you're the mom that that goes and works, or do you stay at home with your mom or your kid? Do you have baby formula, or do you breastfeed? There's always some better, or like it's an ingrained egotistical thing, ego sensory thing that we have, that has to say what I'm doing is the best thing. Like, how many people have you known that were like, when I have kids, I'm not doing that, and then when they have kids, they're like, oh snap, I am like, yeah, my kid might do this for a second, because they're humbled by that. Until people are humbled by an experience that they think that they're superior on, they did, or they're not called out on it, they keep living that. And when we have a culture, especially in America, I want to say too, I'm very patriotic. I love it here. So when I was saying, like, if you go and educate yourself, I wasn't being anti-American, because someone just wrote me and I got the message privately. People love to private message me, which I love. They won't write it publicly. But what I'm saying is, if we were to educate ourselves and humble ourselves and say, we could be better at certain areas that other cultures and other countries have done better at, we could be even better than we are. It's what I work in, right? My clients don't come to me saying, I'm a terrible shit human, fix me. They come to me saying, I think I'm a pretty good human, but I'd like to be better. I'd like to know better skills. I'd like to know other things that you've learned and other things that you've done with your clients to make me better in certain areas. So as Americans, like, we're supposed to believe in like an American dream, that anything is possible and everybody's supposed to have that. And so I don't know where we got so off kilter with the right or wrong, better or worse, inferior, superior, whatever it was. I mean, there's so many different aspects that it just was, the ball kept spinning. But
Yeah.
I mean, there's no topic that's off limits these days. So like when we were talking about our kids earlier, Obi, back, and not Obi, but Buck, and I was talking about the hope for my kids, and you were saying the kids are in the screens. The truth is that it's going to be up to us. Like my kids and I, we speak every Sunday. My kids have a time limit on their phones. My kids ask me questions before they post anything. And a good example for that is, you've got you're talking about these masks, and you're talking about there's conspiracy theories and different things that are going around. I'm sitting here the other day, and I'm going to piss someone off with this, I'm sure. I'm sitting here the other day, and my son runs in and he says something, and he goes, because he's been, he moved with his dad. He moved from his dad in January. So he's been catching up. His dad's very right wing. So he's been catching up on a lot of stuff that he already knew, but he needed to learn. And so we're a very, open household. He comes in and we're talking about politics. And he says, did you hear? And he's all serious. And he's 16, about to be 17. He's a very intelligent kid, like super smart. And so I go, oh, what is it? And he wants to be a part of conversations and stuff. He goes, did you hear about the like pedophile rings with like Bill Gates and Oprah and he starts naming all these people, right? And it's that Epstein conspiracy that's going around, that all the major people are in on, right? And he believed it. And so he comes in and he tells me about that like it's news. And I go, honey, I started laughing. I looked at my daughter, I look at, my partner at the time, and I was like laughing. And he's like, and I said, who told you that? Where did you read that? I was laughing so hard because I was just like, this is so ludicrous.
Yeah,
and
I just had somebody,
yesterday,
I just had somebody text me in a conversation too, like, did you know? You know Ellen's part of that sex
Ellen
ring.
too. That's what he told me.
Show's about to get canceled. I was like,
so I said, honey,
where? I was like, wait, is this breaking news somewhere?
Yeah.
Where are you finding this?
You can find it. It's breaking news too. You're just
and then they pull up a Reddit forum where it's just like look at what they're all saying. This is not a credible source.
My son was so funny. I go, where did you learn that from? And he goes, well, Colby told me. Who? Colby, that's homeschooled, that sits at home on Xbox all day. That was your news source, honey? And he's like, no. So that's not true. So I do think that what you said earlier, it's back, right? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, like back. FeedBak,
yeah, okay.
Get it?
So, right. Okay, that makes sense. So basically, I think that it comes down to us acknowledging as parents that the easy thing to do sometimes is to have that screen babysitter sometimes, but we need to be having the conversations. So my kids don't have that luxury of like, I'll look at them and they'll be like, but I don't have anything else to do. Look out the window, think about your future. And they really they don't question me. We don't, in my house, I don't know, but somewhere along the lines, parents got allowed to be told by their kids, I'm entitled to be on my phone because I'm bored.
And I look at my kid and he's like, well, I'm bored. And I'm like, look out the window. We're
How
on a
can you
road
be
trip.
bored as a kid today?
You can be bored. I used to be bored.
Grab a
We didn't,
stick and dig a hole in the backyard. If you don't have a
and in
backyard,
5 minutes, when my kids are bored and they don't have their phones, within 5-10 minutes, they've found something to do. They've got a book. They've got paper they're drawing. My son was doing it. He did a 3-color challenge with his sister the other day. Pick 3 colors, make art out of it. He drew this whole thing because I took the phones away. So if I'm just going to throw this out there to parents, if you want to have these conversations with your kids, or if you don't because it's uncomfortable, I still would implore you to have the conversations with your kids so that your kids are not parented by a friend that they're talking to. I mean, we talk about this in gang mentality, right? That kids are not feeling comfortable at home. They can't belong, so they get in gangs. And so we'll talk about that, preach about it, and say Black culture is full of gang mentality and all of that.
I love how open you are with your kids. Like it's amazing.
I mean,
And I want to tell all the people out there too listening, like all these the uncomfortableness, fully embrace it. Like I've been having nonstop, and I haven't been the most comfortable having these conversations either. But like the more you just like embrace it and just like learn and find out, like even moments ago, like before we went live, I had a friend of mine comment on one of my past statuses, and his comment was, bro, if you think I'm voting for Biden, you're out of your fucking mind. So in my head, I was like, okay, I could go down this like 2 different routes. Like I could either come at him very aggressive and list like do a compare and contrast on this thread, and kind of we can just have this text Facebook fight back and forth about who's the better candidate. Or but instead I was like, I know that I was like, yo, me and him are friends, and I know he's not like he knows I'm not an evil person. I know he's not an evil person, but we can have a civil conversation about this because we're coming from 2 different viewpoints. And I offered an invite to him. I was like, hey, like I respectfully disagree with you, but I would love to talk about this. Like
call him on the phone. Don't do it over Facebook.
I want to like actually like a phone call or something, but I want to understand where he's coming from, because maybe I'm missing something. It's just like, I know it's an uncomfortable, like you can't just always embrace people that just think exactly like you. I think that like sometimes go have that uncomfortable conversation because it leads to solutions. Like there's no, I don't think what I'm doing is 100% right, or what they're doing is 100% right. Like there has to be some kind of middle ground in there that you have to find.
Have you watched the Uncomfortable Conversation with a Black Man?
Yeah.
What's his name? Manuel Cho, I think his name is.
Yeah.
Something like that. What do you think about that? If you haven't, by the way, go to YouTube. Just Google him. Uncomfortable.
That's the way it works in my home, is that we bring up things that are going. You know, my kids have to watch things that are going to be uncomfortable at first, and I think that hearing something that's going to challenge you in a discomfort way is going to teach you how you're going to react in the future to uncomfortable things. So I believe in exposure therapy type stuff, exposure stuff. So I believe in exposing to just uncomfortable things. I didn't get to watch all of the things, but I saw a few, and what really stuck out to me is just the miscommunication of how someone perceives something. So I'm not going to get too coachy or preachy, but something we do in our house, and Obi, you were talking about being open, is something I teach my kids with is when, instead of assuming what someone's saying, and I will say Back made a good point, go back to using the phones, and I'll go to my point now. Go back to having conversations that are not text. Please pick up your phones and talk to people, hear the inflection in their voice, hear the empathetic way they want to communicate with you so that you understand, because text can be whatever. But with my kids, what I tell them is, here's a good exercise I use with my clients. If they get frustrated with me or my partner or my kids, they tell me what they think. Instead of assuming something, I use this phrase, because we all come from different biases. I've had abuse, I've had assaults. So we all come from different traumas and issues and makeups, right? So our brains tell us something. So I tell my kids something and they go, okay, Mama, before I get frustrated, they say this phrase, what my brain is telling me you're saying to me is that you're upset at me. And I'm like, no, I'm not upset with you. Or Mama, or a friend, I've had to tell a friend what my brain is telling me and my thoughts telling me is that you think you're smarter than me. And they have to go, oh, I'm so sorry. That's not what I meant. So it's a really good thing to challenge our own self and to let someone know, hey, I might be wrong here. And what I'm picking up from you is this. Is that what you meant? I think Dr. Phil used to say it like, say it back and say, so what I'm hearing you say is, and that gives the person the ability to clarify before you make a judgment.
Mhm.
So the uncomfortable conversations can be a lot less uncomfortable if we are willing to hear somebody's actual intention rather than going in thinking that they have an intention against us, if that makes sense.
So one of the most powerful when you talk to somebody, when you have a conversation, it could be even in interview form. And this is something that what's the dude's name who did the interviews on CNN, who's old with the suspenders?
Larry King.
Larry King.
Yeah,
Larry King said the most powerful thing you can ask when you're talking to somebody is why. Why is that? Why you think that way? And this goes back to kids. When kids ask you say something, the kids go why, and you have to like, okay, let me dig deeper and give you another answer that
And
maybe
they
help
still
you
say
understand. And then they go, why is that? And then you keep
Yeah.
going and going and going. And at the end you go, because the sky's blue, because whatever. But at
Yeah.
least it helps you formulate an answer, a coherent answer, because you're trying to make the other person understand where you're coming from.
Right.
And that's the most powerful question you can ask. And another thing I wanted to add to what you were saying earlier, Obi, I think that for the next generation, I think people should pay more attention to, when it comes to news, they should look at other countries covering what's happening here, because they don't, I think the whole 24 hours cycle news thing is dying, and people are more tuned into conversations like the one we're having. There's a reason why Joe Rogan has the biggest podcast in the world, because all he does is talk. He just talks to people who know what the fuck you're talking about, and he's just curious. You just ask questions, you're trying to get on understanding, and you also paying attention to, you're there to listen. You have 2 ears, 1 mouth. Listen twice as much as you talk. And so some of that always says, maybe he didn't come up with it. I don't think so. But anyway.
And I think offering like your community more of those opportunities to speak will actually allow it to be better. My friend Dee Dee and Sean are a biracial couple living up in Austin, up where I think you guys are. And they've always been really amazing about holding in their neighborhood when racial intentions, it gets tense in racial issues. They will go and put together and put on houses and offer their neighbors to come and have an actual conversation. So they did it distance this time because of COVID, but they are always such a great example of starting the uncomfortable conversations. They know people are going to have differing opinions, but they regulate it with respect. And the amount of people that show up to those who want to be heard is such a great number. So if you start offering places that people can have a voice rather than just the internet or the news, then you're going to be teaching your communities. If you can be the people teaching each other, then you're much better off than if you're learning from somebody that you're always watching on Fox News. That's why I said, I allow my kids, when I ask, where are you getting that information from? And this is where I want you to, come to me. I'm not going to always have the answer, or listen to this podcast, or listen to your aunts or your uncles, and have those conversations, have conversations with each other. So I think that's important too, is having more of these conversations in the communities. I'm really big on the discussions in the communities face to face, as uncomfortable as they can be. Because if we're not doing that, we're going to jump on the keyboard and do it anonymously, or do it behind behind a keyboard, because
we'll have a whole society just full of keyboard warriors that just don't want to listen to anybody, that just want to pull up their phone or their computer, fire off their comment, and then disappear again. Yep. And it's just like, you're not going to ever learn that way unless you really start engaging with conversation.
But it's also
sometimes people hate being uncomfortable, but we gotta embrace this.
Know that psychologically, it's a release people have, this conflict release. It's that they like to say something and it gives them that like rush, and then that's their high for that moment. It's that, oh, I told them, and then they'll go off into their day until they need that hit again. and they'll
Yeah.
join Facebook and go comment on another thing. And so that's why I said at the beginning, when you said we became this culture, it's an addiction. Like that drama addiction, like that's something we're going to have to be mindful over. And that's the part that I'm less hopeful about, because I know how hard that is to challenge yourself when you want to have some drama and you want to be involved in it. I grew up very different than where I am now, to have open conversations. Like I grew up in a high school where like people dealt with it by fighting. It was like, girl, what'd you say? Like earrings were coming off like in 2 seconds, and there were no talking.
Bitch.
No, that was, yeah, there was all that. And I'm not like
Yeah.
that now, but that's the way it was. And even in my family, my parents are not shy about this. We grew up going to bars with my parents. And I didn't understand this until later in life. And my brothers and sisters and I have, figured it out. But we went to bars with them, and it was in Deep South Mississippi. So it was allowed to take your kids into bars with you and play pool or whatever. But the reason I'm so like always aware and alert of my environment and what people are doing, and people always say Kim's like, a spy. She can like hear someone across the street while talking to you while knowing what's going down the block. But that was the way I had to grow up because of safety reasons. Well, my dad and mom always got into these fights, and I would be like, why don't they like my parents? And that's not what was happening. It was that there was alcohol involved and there was attitude involved. And so when my parents moved to Arkansas, they were from Mississippi. So they liked throwing out that they were from Mississippi. And so the Arkansan people would be like, well, that's a shitty place. And then they would fight. So I witnessed this fighting. And then even in our family, my dad will attest to this. If we had an argument and there was drama and we were going back and forth, he would go out in our backyard. This is some like white trash, hilarious shit, draw a circle, put us in it, and be like, fight it out. And if you don't beat each other's ass, then I'll beat your ass. So fighting was just what we were.
See,
we were
I knew Kim was more hood than both of us.
Oh,
I know,
man.
Like, she looked so put together. Like this girl,
And we're
in a
Africans.
second, she could.
Yeah, it's so hard to say that.
I want to answer.
But that's what it is that it's a mentality of a release that you get from that fighting. And you have to, it took me years. I went through an anger management program
Holy shit.
I love my parents. So my parents, if they were even to see this, we already know, we've had the conversation about our past. But I had to deprogram, lashing out at somebody, like in road rage, or, I could have been a Karen. Thank God I wasn't, but I could have been a Karen. And so when I see these videos of these women, I go, I know where that's coming from. I know what you're doing. You lost control somewhere. Your husband's controlling you. You don't have control of your relationship, your mental, your kids, something you lost control of. So you're trying to control this thing. And that's what I think our society is. We're so full of trying to control things because of fear that we lash out. Actually, all of us are Karens, to be honest.
Yeah, I started realizing that today. I was like, man, we've actually all had a Karen moment.
Right.
Like, or a Karen or a Ken or a Chad moment. Like, but it's just how do you, because I straight up had a horrible Chad moment, but I got lucky enough that it was not recorded. But I've learned from that
shit.
incident. I did. Like, I had a road rage incident that was so,
We all do.
so bad.
Yeah,
but not like my road rage incident.
Okay, hold on. You can't just say that and not tell the story. But before you do, I just want to address what Carol asked in the chat about recommendations on where to get news. I watched France 24. It's international news station. It's in French, Arabic, and English. And they have a news bulletin every 30 minutes, and it just give you it's about 10 to 15 minutes long, every 30 minutes. And then it just say, okay, here's what's happening in this country. This is what's happening in this country. It's world news.
Yeah, I watched that one.
They have little, they say, okay, we'll go to this person's going to tell you what's happening. Just the facts. There's no, they'll have like debate shows when they invite experts, but it never turns into a, 6-panel with talking heads just for a minute and a half. It's not that format. And they have different segments about technology and women and Africa. They talk about a lot of stuff. So France24.com, and it's live 24/7 on YouTube. And every 30 minutes there's a bulletin. You can just watch or catch at the time, or just go to the website and watch it. I love it. That's all I listen to. But anyway, Obi, tell the story when you almost kicked somebody's ass.
No, I can't incriminate myself on a podcast. No,
I have to name
it's so bad.
names.
No, I can't do it. I'm gonna switch the subject to something else we should talk about.
Come on.
So
You don't have to name names.
ACL is canceled.
That was coming.
That was super delayed. That they should have canceled that. But there's also this other story about I don't know if you know this country singer Chase Crawford. He went in Nashville. He had a concert.
Chase Rice.
He just it threw all caution into the wind, and he had a live concert, just like nothing was happening, and it was full with thousands of people rushing the stage.
That was Chase Rice, right?
Chase Rice. Yeah.
Where was this?
In Tennessee, and I thought it was in Nashville. Yeah. So and then he got all this backlash from the rest of the country community. All the other country artists were like, dude, you can't. This is a horrible example to set. You can't have a concert like this, and especially in the South where you're spreading COVID around. So he kind of put out this following statement saying hey, I apologize for that, but I'm gonna continue my tour, but it's gonna be drive-in format from now on. Come to I'm gonna still perform, but you stay in your car and party with your own people that you're quarantining with. So I wanted to get your input. Do you think that experience will be what we have to kind of look forward to for the next year or two?
They're already doing it. They did it in the Netherlands. They did it in Germany. They had EDM shows, drive-in EDM shows with DJs. Yeah. I've also seen Michael Che is doing stand-up, but he's doing it from the back of a pickup truck. And
really?
In the parking lot, and there's circles, 6 feet apart circles, and people sit in there.
Yeah.
I
didn't know people were already implementing this. I thought that it was just going to be I only saw it with movie theaters.
They're doing it with shows.
With the squares that you can dance in as well. I just had a client that's a musician. She was on earlier, Laura. We were talking about it. Same thing. I told her there's a drive-in that's up in New Braunfels, here near San Antonio. And it's my job to help people get around things. So it's my job to keep up with strategies as a coach, transition if something changes. And when the pandemic hit, a lot of people needed to change what they were doing and make it something else. Mm-hmm. So I was like, you can still do a concert. You can still do all of this. You go to the drive-in and you do it on there. And she was like, what? And I was like, yeah, people are already doing that.
Sweet John just said in the comment that Vanilla Ice had a concert here in Austin planned, but it just got canceled.
Yeah, last minute.
Okay.
But at first,
that was because I think people were saying they weren't going to adhere to certain things and all of that too. Here's the thing is that where we're at is it's hard to trust people's judgment if we open up things in a way that they can override the boundary you set. So as long as you do it in a way that says, hey, you have to stay in your car. So when you go to the drive-in movie, you have to stay in your lane and you watch the drive-in movie and you have it on your thing. So as long as people
because that's what Chase Rice said. He said he made, I think his fans, he told them before the concert started, hey, I'm gonna perform, but all of y'all space yourself out. Don't be crowded so closely. But yeah, humans are stupid. Once you see your artists performing on stage, illegal, they want to just swarm.
Is different, right? So here's the thing: we have to be smarter than just getting on stage and telling a bunch of people that just pre-gamed that was listening to your country music with their Bud Light, hey, use your good judgment. They were already drunk.
They're drunk. They're not going to space out, but with their hand, hold your hand out. Don't be that close.
Corona's in already. F that. I'm going to dance. So the thing is that you have to be able to, you get kicked out. So Alamo Draft House, you go to the movies, they put it on the screen that says, if your neighbor says that you're being too loud and you're speaking, you get a warning. After the warning, you get kicked out. So if they have these rules in place that are more put together that say, here's the new norm. Concerts are going to be this way. You can come, you can enjoy yourself. You have to stay within your thing. They put it in your budget. We will have security come around and check to make sure you're following these guidelines. That's fine. But don't do it the DIY, I'm having to change a lot for words. That's another topic that I would like to,
feel free.
We'll put a bookmark in it.
But, put a pin in, because I for the last 39 years, I've said, be a slave to something. And I had to switch that. As well. But so anyway, you put somebody on stage that's just a performer. Nobody feels like he's a authority figure.
So they're gonna push the limits on that. So I think we can absolutely do this the right way. Some of the other countries are already
Because that's
doing
what
it.
I'll even tie this back to the whole mask issue. Because people want to say like it should be our choice if we want to go and wear this stuff. But just like the people at the concert that like can't like regulate themselves to like not, hey, let's as a group, as a big crowd, not rush the stage and all be clamoring
Dude.
together where we're infecting each other. Like sometimes you need a leader to kind of set rules so
No, I
it can
say
keep
you're all
everyone.
fine if you don't do it.
Yeah.
If it hits your pocket, you're
Yeah.
gonna you or it, look. There were a friend of mine was sharing last week. There were countries and like in Belize, if they catch you without a mask, they'll beat the shit out of you and take you to jail. And in the Philippines, well, no, in the Philippines, the president was like, if you see someone without a mask, shoot him in the head.
Oh,
Oh.
Yes, like that. But that president is a fucking lunatic anyway. But the point is, you can't expect people to practice good judgment in the first place. I mean, there's bar owners that were downtown just protesting, reopen the bars. You're the reason why we had a spike in cases, not the protest, not the protest. It's just you open your bars.
I have to disagree with that though.
Really?
Too.
Well, I can tell
It's
you
not the
right
bar.
now-
It's not the bar industry that
But
causes,
people
like,
didn't
Not
respect
sure.
it.
it's the reopening. The reopening caused the spike.
Yeah, but the policies were not enforced.
Yeah,
the
but just like the
policies
but just like the bar industries, it's like when they enter your establishment, like your staff, you already have your task that you were supposed to do already. Like I'm supposed to be pouring drinks. I'm supposed to be watching the door. We don't have somebody that's like gonna enforce these rules to
That's
tell
what I'm
people to
saying.
kind of be a part. Like
If you
we don't
don't-
have that person. So
if you
that's
don't have the logistics, then either don't open or I mean, don't get me wrong. I love, I have a lot of respect for people who work in the service industry. I'm just saying that it's the wrong
Do you
message
think-
to send right now.
Do you think
I mean,
they were
it's not-
picked
it's not
on out of
even-
everybody? Like out of all the businesses that opened up, that do you think the bars were picked on specifically, like to take
Well,
the brunt
like,
of
you
in
know
my
what?
feed,
Sorry,
I have
go-
a lot of people that went out to the bars. Like I told you, I read patterns. It's my job. I
Mhm.
screenshot. I come with receipts. So I'm always like, if I'm in a board meeting or if I'm trying to argue with a cousin, I will bring my receipts. Like boom, boom, boom. Here's what I can show you. So I had this conversation in a podcast that I was a part of a couple days ago, and it was here in San Antonio on the bar reopening and blah blah this thing. And I was like, here are the people. I found 17 people in my feed that are in the hospital in COVID. I screenshotted that they are in the hospital for COVID right now,
Mhm.
and they just went in. And I screenshotted that they were the week before taking photos in the bars. That's how many I
Yeah.
found in my feed alone in San Antonio. So I don't know what the numbers of everything are, but I know that
Yeah.
that's a good number.
I definitely
again,
noticed that
I have
they're-
700 friends and 17 of them went to the bars and now have COVID. I mean, and I think
yeah,
it's
like
probably
Rainy
for
Street looked
everywhere else.
exactly the same. Like there was no
Well,
Rainy
again,
Street didn't
it
slow
goes-
down at all.
It goes back
Yeah.
to there's some bars who I'm sure enforced it somehow, but there's a few that didn't, and they fuck it up for everybody,
Yeah.
and now I got to shut everything down. So if you want to
Yeah.
be mad at the bars who didn't give a shit.
Right.
Yeah, because there were some people that were really good, like Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. They did their damnedest to kind of do everything the correct way, like and
But
really,
they got fined
and
anyway.
yeah,
got
and then now he has to suffer like his business being like it's like he said it was costing his bar $500,000 for this month being like out of work. So now all those bartenders have to go back on unemployment and try to receive it, but they just stopped the $600 like relief, like because they didn't want to extend it because they thought people were being lazy, not going back and taking these jobs. No, people are like everybody I know is hustling. Everyone
course.
wants to get back to work. You can't just throw everyone in a bucket and thinking that hey, they're lazy. If we keep this relief going, they're never going to go back to. No, people want to go back to work. Trust me.
But what are your thoughts on the $600 that if people, because I do know some people, to be honest, that were like, I'm not going to go back and risk myself for work if I'm making more than I was. First, I'd be risking COVID, and second, I get more at home. What do you think about like?
I
transitioning?
think
No,
it should
I
have.
mean,
I
on a
honestly feel
wage-
like it should have been extended because
No, I mean like on a wage level. Like, what do you think about, like, on a wage level, you have a lot of the senators that are saying if people had more incentive to stay at home for just $600 more, it was just $600. Nobody was giving out 4,000 a month, right? Just $600 or more was making a difference in their lives so much that they wanted to stay home rather than get out, do their job, move up. Where are we on the wage and the wage issues that we have? What's your thought on that?
I'm not naive. I'll agree that yes, some people were making more on unemployment with that relief in there, but you have to look at the big picture. Like there was 40 million people that had to, like, due to COVID, had to go on unemployment. People that are not usually on unemployment.
Right.
So those people, I'm gonna say that they were probably making more working than just being unemployed, or because they would have done that long time ago. The people that kind of were on in the system like regularly, yes, they might be thinking this is I hit the lotto because I'm making so much more money being on unemployment, but it runs out after a certain amount of time for those people, and they're gonna have to we're not getting out of this anytime soon. So they're gonna have to motivate themselves to kind of get back into the workforce. But I'm talking about you can't say that entire 40 million people that just got unemployment are all in that category where they're like, but that's how those senators are thinking. That's how they're thinking that, hey, the majority of the people on unemployment are making so much more money than they were in all their other fields. No, these are people that were not on unemployment at all.
No, listen.
They're looking at the numbers. So they were looking at the numbers of people that were saying, we are not going to risk, because we don't have health care, we're not going to risk going back to work when we're just $600 a month is not that much more, is what I'm saying. So if you've got a wage issue in this country where people can literally stay home because they need to save that money until they are forced to go back into work, it would make sense. So here's my point of view on that. You're saying there's amount of people that we're making more, and we fit into that with some of the people that we work with. So I do believe that there was a substantial amount of people though that knew that the assistance was going to run out, right? So it made sense for them to stay home, collect the more money until it stopped, and then go back to work, because they have to save in case the industry stops and they're not giving any more money back. So that was another mindset that people were skipping, is that people were saving money. They were having to save money in case they had to skip a couple weeks or a month and they live paycheck to paycheck.
I've seen a big chunk of people that now are even when I posted that article, I had one friend, and it just made me really sad. She's like, that was basically how I was surviving out here in LA. Now I have to stop paying rent. It's like because most of the people, a lot of LA or people are in the entertainment field and stuff, and when the whole government, we're all kind of working together to kind of keep everything kind of shut down until things are safe. Removing that relief from underneath everybody before the whole government and the whole economy's up and running again, it's heartless to me. It's just heartless to kind of do to help keep it going until our economy is back to where it needs to be and all the jobs are there. But I saw Trump did a whole economy kind of press conference today, and he's like, oh, employment is but the numbers that they were reporting were not actually employment numbers. It's just job openings. You're reporting job openings. These are not actual fulfilled place, people working. It's so stupid. To me, it's just
how did they come up with that number in the first place?
Cause they went by industry, the index on each industry, and hey, how many jobs in this industry are available, and then they took all those numbers and posted hey, our economy is back, because we have 5 million new jobs available in the US, but people are not in those jobs. People didn't just in the past month when we're going through all this shit, just oh yes, I have a new job. Most of these companies all went under the first 2 months of COVID. It's just all the jobs that went bankrupt, all the retail places that went bankrupt and under, all those small restaurants, and now bars are closed too. So all the bars in Texas and Dallas, Houston, Austin, it's just all those people are out of work, and
I mean, I
it's
think
just
like
it's
what Zach was
stupid.
saying earlier. The news that we're getting is not updated, and that's what
Don't.
frustrates me. I watch what you watch as well, and we have I like my best friend used to watch the Philippines channel, and so I'd get random news from like the Philippines, and so I started to get really interested in like how to find a way to see news all over, right?
Hmm.
Because I wanted to be more educated, mainly for Facebook arguments back when I was on our
Hmm.
but I don't do that now. But what happened was for me is like I was thinking about it, and it's like it's not. It's what you said before. It's not updated information, and I'm not going to get into Trump or anything, but he does have a team that can take numbers and manipulate and switch it around and be like, here's the numbers of this, and it's not actual up to date in the moment numbers. It's not the Nasdaq that you're looking at. It's what was out last week or last month, and it always comes down to the even like the question of like when he's like, this is the best that's ever been in history. And it's like, well, a lot of
uh,
politics is inherited. So
Yeah.
you
no,
inherited a
look.
lot of things from Obama's, and a lot of things carry over, and we as Americans don't know all of those things as well. So we're easily manipulated sometimes. We
Yeah,
can
I mean,
see that.
first of all, don't listen to what Trump says.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll never take responsibility for what he says or what he does.
And
And second,
people are smart now. People know he
oh
want to
yeah, I mean,
distract.
every time
You
he
want to
tweets,
distract because of this whole Russia thing. You want to talk
oh
about
yeah,
anything
that's what he does
else.
best. If,
Everybody knows this. Like it's just
I'll give it to him. Like he is great at trying at
art of distraction.
distraction and trying to control the narrative, because no matter
Yeah,
what
it's the
whatever he
gaslighting
tweets,
we talked about.
it becomes news.
Yeah.
And then you look at the people like who comment on his tweets, and the first one is always negative and people just go at it. But anyway, we're gonna wrap it up because we've been uh, talking for a while now. But anyway, I think that if you can, um, people, every time there's a national issue, you always hear, oh yeah, we need to have a national conversation about blah 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 blah, about guns, about gay marriage, about drugs, about war, about immigration, and it, it doesn't happen. So, and especially now that we are apart from each other, it's even harder to have. But and we still have phones, we still have things like Zoom, we still have podcasts. Forget the 24-hour news cycle, and don't be afraid to have these uncomfortable conversations with people. Which, what I was curious about is if people actually have, like, oh, every Friday we're going to have a Zoom conference call. Anybody can join, and then we'll just talk about shit. Short of, since we can't be together, like your mixed couple friends who have people over to talk about these kind of issues. I wonder if there's, instead of meetups, they're like Zoom ups or whatever, and then people just get together and talk.
I think
Yeah.
people are like I think
No,
people
I
are
hope it
like
happens. I really does. I really does. I really do.
There's some industries like I'm in coaching and they do that, but I would absolutely love more people to do it like in the real way. Like when you
Yeah.
just said that, I was like, I hope he has one and invites me. Like I want to talk to people that I don't normally talk to. So the meetups are happening, but they're happening within people through the groups
in
that
your
you already know.
network, and that's all that, because it's like the butterfly effect. Like once
Yeah.
you talk to that person, they're gonna continue the conversation, talk to the other people that they know,
Yeah.
then
Yep.
it's
So
just
I
like
would like
it's
to
a
open it
ripples
up
through
to
everybody else.
more talking to you guys tonight was like so refreshing for me. I mean, I was excited about it today because I'm normally in a different, realm of
Yeah.
podcasting or
I was really
interviews.
looking forward to it because like I've listened to Kim's
I was
and I've been in the reverse where I'm in
Yeah.
her comments talking with all of the people that are listening to her conversations. So I was like, we need to have her in our network too, to kind of put
Yeah.
some
And
input over here
by the
and
way,
share with everybody else.
if you want to join a podcast on the next conversation, just shoot me a message. I mean, she went from commenter to headliner
That was so
in a
nice.
week.
I was like, I'm asked to talk for once.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is where it's at. That's what I mean by the news. 24-hour news cycle is going to die soon. People are going to turn to more long form conversation because there's no issue you can talk about in 30 seconds. Here's the guy from the left. Here's the guy from the right. They're going to go at it for a minute, and then we're going to break for commercial. No, that format is
Yeah.
dead. Uh, there's platforms now where you can have these talks and try to get an understanding. Forget Twitter. Forget
And there's no way
Facebook.
And there's no way we could have had this conversation just like in one thread, like writing
Exactly.
all of our thoughts in just like a couple 180 characters. Like it's not. There's a lot of
No.
detail and nuance and stuff.
I would have
So
pieced out.
thank you so much, everybody in the chat, everybody who joined in the conversation, people in the comments.
you.
Kim, where can people find you? You got anything to plug or?
You can find me on Instagram. I mean, you can find me here. Obviously, it's under Kimberly Kay Scott. Or you can find me on my website, Not a Basic Life. I do coaching and speaking, but across all platforms. It's not a basic life, which is ironic. But if you want to just follow my personal stuff, it's Dear Kimberly Kay. So depending on if you want to look at professional stuff, Not a Basic Life. If it's just Kim's personal stuff, Dear Kimberly Kay. So
Sweet.
Oh, cool.
thank you.
All right. So like every week we here Thursdays. I've been posting the previous shows. If you don't catch it live, you can go back and listen to the previous shows. We've had some really good conversations. Shout out to Alex. Shout out to Adam. And
Yeah.
shout out to Lane,
Thank
who was on
you,
last time.
thank you everyone for coming. And
Yeah,
I would
just,
really, I like honestly for a future podcast, I don't know if anyone in the comments fits this, but I would really like to have a conservative join this conversation for one of these weeks, just to see their
I have
thoughts.
someone I can send you that's really great talking. And
I
she's
would
really,
love to have him on. Just
Yeah, like even two of them, like just so they don't feel like they're alone. Like, but I would love to talk to anyone that's a Republican or a conservative, how they kind of view
I'm
all
gonna send
these
you someone.
issues.
She's a literal rocket scientist, and she's very respectful. And but
Okay.
she's great. She's on like we do not match politically, but we are very close friends. But
Good.
she's way smarter than
Okay.
me. I mean, literal rocket scientist, right? So yeah, I think she knows
Okay.
her stuff. So I think she'd be able to hold her own with you guys.
all right. Good
All right.
deal. Make sure
Nice.
to spread the word. We do this every Thursday, 9 o'clock Central Time. Tell your friends,
Thursday.
tell your neighbors, tell your Zoom folks, and your Facebook folks, and all that good stuff.
Thank
Follow
you
the
for having
feedback.
Early voting. You could go and vote.
Oh, that's right. Early voting is up.
Yes.
All right. Follow the feedback, BAK on social medias, and we'll talk to you next week. Peace. Ciao, ciao. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Obi.
Peace. Bye.